financial independence is upstream of ideological independence. So what you could, if you are, let's say, just relying on your employer to kind of, you have the feeling like you can't say what you want on the internet because, like, I don't know, online, because they might kind of later, it might cost you something, you will get some repercussions, or you might get unemployable when you taste when you get the taste of freedom, as people say, but Balaji has like kind of interesting take on this, because he doesn't say like, you should say whatever you want online, or you should get rich to get your F of money, and then you can say whatever you want, as maybe Taleb would say or something. But he says like, actually, it's much easier to save money in a way than to increase your earning like by multiple times or something like that.
Hello, welcome back to Mtambo's Desk, a weekly podcast covering deep conversations on technology, philosophy, complex science, and civilization. My name is Mtambo, and the following is a conversation with Jakub Simek, a co-founder of Wezesha DAO and an author of Wisdom Enterprising. In today's episode, I'll be talking with Jakub about his article, Personal Runway, under the Daily Balajism series. And now, dear friends, here is Jakub Simek. Jakub, thank you for joining me again today.
Thank you, Duke. It's always a pleasure.
So let's start with the basics. Can you explain to our viewers what the concept of personal runway is?
Yeah, so you have this concept from startup culture. I mean, some startup metrics where you have like the company runway, yeah, which means like it's your money in the bank divided by your monthly burn rate, and you will get like a runway, let's say, of if you have $80,000 and your monthly burn rate is $10,000, and you divided it, and you will get like like 8 months of your runway. And so Balaji takes this concept and he kind of extends it into a household budgeting and into your like personal or individual or let's say family runway. So therefore it's personal runway. So meaning that's like Balaji's kind of innovation here is that he connects it to ideological independence, saying that actually financial independence is upstream of ideological independence. So what you could, if you are, let's say, just relying on your employer to kind of, you have the feeling like you can't say what you want on the internet because, like, I don't know, online, because they might kind of later, it might cost you something, you will get some repercussions, or you might get unemployable when you taste when you get the taste of freedom, as people say, but Balaji has like kind of interesting take on this, because he doesn't say like, you should say whatever you want online, or you should get rich to get your F of money, and then you can say whatever you want, as maybe Taleb would say or something. But he says like, actually, it's much easier to save money in a way than to increase your earning like by multiple times or something like it's because he says like, okay, saving more is like deterministic, and earning more is stochastic, meaning like earning more is probabilistic, but saving more is like deterministic, in a way that you it's much more easily, not easily. I'm not saying that saving is easy. I have challenges with it until this day. But if you are like decide, let's say, to skip this coffee or skip this drink out or something, or buying, I don't know, something smaller than you wanted, or postponing some investment into a new car. I mean, it's not investment, but like spending in, or something like that. So it's like deterministic. But like if you are, I don't know, starting a new startup, you never know, like it will, it will take like, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 5 years of your life, and you might still fail at the end. So it's like probabilistic, you might like really just give 5 years into something, and your heart focus only into one thing, like again, as we discussed before, like by blocking all the other clickbait and all the other distractions. And imagine you are focusing on one thing, I don't know, creating some kind of brand, let's say some tech company, or like say soft drink brand or something, and then but it crashes, or it's doesn't win over the competition, or it's crushed by the competition or something, and then suddenly you're like 5 years or 3 years, you kind of invested your time into it, but you might lose a lot of money and a lot of time, which it's not like the argument against entrepreneurship, but it's like more the argument that saving is like deterministic, because it's like you do it, and you kind of it's much easier to get the outcome that you desire, than by increasing your earnings and your like financial upside. Yeah. So yeah, so this is like Balaji's idea of personal runway. So you want probably to have like a couple of months of savings, and how to get there. It's in the times of actually Bitcoin, and in the times of Web3, and especially if there is like a crypto winter, probably it's good to then cut your expenses and to start saving, because you might, it might take a couple of months or even like a year when the prices are depressed. But then if you are able to, I don't know, put, let's say, 1,000 shillings into Bitcoin and Ethereum, if those prices go up, again, it's another financial advice, but it's much better to save in crypto once the prices are down than when they are up, in a way that like it's good to behave opposite to the market. So if everybody's super excited about crypto, probably you should be like a bit more cautious, or at least maybe have also some funds in some other, like let's say fiat currencies or something, or like maybe spend it. Sometimes it's also good to spend some money, but regarding saving, it's good maybe in this crypto winter to start some saving, cutting expenses. And yeah, and that's the idea of personal runway. That actually the very critical here idea is that actually the easiest way to save money is to move from big expensive city into like a cheaper place with fast internet, the cheapest kind of area that you can tolerate with the fast internet. And if you can work remotely, then you can do this longitudinal arbitrage that we discussed before as well. But you could imagine like just like a metaphor of a Nigerian working for a Norwegian company, or a Kenyan working for a Kuwaiti company. I don't know, but like if you work remotely, it's kind of like having your cake and eating it or something, because you can like still enjoy like your culture, your cuisine, and your friends, like I don't know, and being kind of locally somewhere. Or sometimes you have to find new friends, and sometimes you can still keep in touch with your friends because they're all online and you communicate, let's say, on social networks. They don't know where you are based currently, but the idea is like you don't need to travel from Nigeria to Norway to, I don't know, to you, but you can use this like longitudinal arbitrage, especially if you learn some skills like in computer science, statistics, programming, and or even could be like content creation as well. But then if you work for but if you have these hard skills, I mean, it's easier to get probably like and some portfolio to get some clients abroad. Yeah, and that's like the idea, to move into the cheapest possible location that you can tolerate. That's like what Balaji talks about, and work for, let's say, a big tech company. And you don't need to maybe even like be super vocal and super online and like, I don't know, like discussing all the controversial takes and things when you want to build your personal runway. And then maybe once you have it, then you can yeah, you can be more open-minded, or I mean, not open-minded, but you can be more controversial online or something like that if you want, you know. You don't need to, but like meaning like, yeah, you are then more ideologically kind of free. So if you want to be ideologically independent, the best way is first to be financially independent. It's a good advice, but I'm not sure if I'm following it. You know, but at least, you know, it's good to try. You know?
Yeah, that's interesting. And you mentioned in your article the potential impact of Web3 on personal runway. Can you elaborate on that too?
Yeah, so it's like yeah, I mean, because in the like 20 years ago, or like, okay, 15 years ago or something, the good kind of not scenario, but it was like, what was the script or something, like what you should follow, you know. It was like, let's say you move to Silicon Valley, like let's say you apply to YC, like a Y Combinator, and you move to Silicon Valley and you start a startup there, and you, I don't know, work hard. But if you are young and you don't have kids and you are in your 20s, then you can, I don't know, you live with some roommates, and you in a very expensive city, which is actually now actually quite destroyed by crime and this and that, but you are in a very expensive city, just like working really hard from your room inside some small apartment where you live with other people, and you are working on your startup for 3 years. And then you might actually end up losing all that time and money and resources, you know, because it's like, I don't know, only a few startups out of I don't know, out of all these thousands of startups survive or dominate their market niche or something like that. But that was like, but anyhow, even if you, at least you build your skills, you know, even if you don't win or something, and usually you are at least not into some, you don't have some debts or something, because like in Silicon Valley, you know, those investors, as we discussed also before, they invested into equity, in your equity of your startup, and at least, I mean, even if you fail, at least you learn something and you get some skills or something. So it's not bad, but it's like there was like one scenario or one script that you could follow like 15 years ago. But now, like with Web3 and with crypto and with fast internet and with this remote work as a cultural innovation, and with Starlink soon coming to Kenya or something, you know. So suddenly you don't need to, let's say, be in Silicon Valley, but you can be in Silicon Savannah.
Yeah.
Not in Kansas City, but it could be like even in Voi, you know. And you could be in actually a literal, a literal savannah, you know. But you know, having some high-speed internet and actually one difference, one key difference, or after COVID and after this remote work, is that you can find investors globally. Before, you had to come to Silicon Valley for actually quite a silly reason, which is not connected to internet or tech companies, but it's connected with cars, because those investors all lived around the Bay Area. And so they wanted to be like on your board as a board members or something, to have some board seats once they are investors, and they had to have like a drive, it should be like 1 or 2 hour maximum of drive to drive to your board meeting. So therefore everybody had to come to Silicon Valley, because the VC investors were based there, and so they have a short drive to your board meeting. That was like, it was not because of tech, but it was because of cars, basically, their driving time to your board meeting. So, but with remote work and with and it's also, I have this from Balaji, like listening to Balaji, but like with remote work and with after COVID and with fast internet, you can actually get investors or work from anywhere on the planet. You don't need to come to Silicon Valley. That's one big change. Another one is like connected with Web3. So okay, so you don't need to, technically you can do this like this playbook without starting a startup. You can just like, let's say, be a freelancer or get a job. At least Balaji talked about this, it was 2 years ago, but talked about it, like getting a big job like with some big tech company and working fully remotely, and you can use this longitudinal arbitrage, and then you don't need to establish a startup. If you want to save some money, it's just like doing this arbitrage, having the least rent, the cheapest rent, the cheapest, I don't know, place that you can tolerate, that it's still safe, but working for some like remotely for some let's say Western-based, ideally tech company that has some kind of like monopolistic or oligopolistic power, let's say Google or something like that. That's like one playbook. And like with webs, and then you can save money and you can put them into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then kind of save in those currencies. And of course, we have the crypto winter now, but this is kind of like at least historically, the returns there were quite unprecedented, or yeah. So that's like, instead of coming up with a startup, this is like a way how you can increase your personal runway. Yeah. But of course, you can also start your DAO. You can, and you can get investors to invest into your DAO, like Web3, who are excited about Web3. So you don't need to then, let's say, incorporate in Delaware, but you can incorporate on chain. That's like in the age of Web3, what you can do.
That's a big statement. But maybe in addition to that, the potential impact of Web3 on personal runway, maybe Web3 will ultimately solve the issue of being cancelled or deplatformed, which can lead to loss of income and connections. And maybe with Web3, creators will be able to own their content and social graph, and with their pseudonymous economy, it will be a step towards this decentralization and meritocracy. And maybe it's a financial unlock that will be comparable to what you said in the article, Deng Xiaoping allowing capitalism in China.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's another viewpoint on it, or another aspect. You're right. Okay, so it's like, yeah, I mean, because okay, that's a story of like the secret document that transformed China, and Balaji talks about it a lot. But basically, in a living memory of like some old people, but it was like the late 70s, capitalism was punishable by death in China, meaning like if you are keeping part of your harvest, and you don't give it all to the collective, and you might actually end up being executed or something. And there were like a bunch of farmers that signed like a secret deal between themselves to keep portion of their harvest, but then if they are being executed, then the other partners in that group should take care of their kids and their family or something. I mean, their family. And so yeah, there was like when the Deng Xiaoping saw it, he got actually inspired by Singapore and by the Lee Kuan Yew and the success of like them going from the third world to first. And so he kind of started to reform China through these special economic zones, so bit by bit, and he introduced like some kind of mottos, or like yeah, like he has quotes like "backwards will be beaten," so it's like combining the nationalism with also kind of truth seeking about the current state of China. So it's like backwards will be beaten, or like black cat, white cat, it doesn't matter if it it's good if it catches mice, you know. So it's like kind of introducing capitalism bit by bit. And all this kind of story, this story is just an analogy to the Web 2 currently, the social networks, where you can build like I don't know, like a big following, and you can be even like I don't know, like elite, like say like Paul Graham got the platform, and he's definitely not a right winger or something. He's like I don't know, liberal on part of the Silicon Valley elite, but by accident or something, like because of this, I don't know, he mentioned Mastodon on Twitter, and like he was pissed with how the Elon Musk is doing. I mean, his kind of actions there at Twitter, and he got banned by some algorithms or something, you know, like. And then Elon Musk called him, and he reinstated his Twitter, whatever. Okay, I mean, it's better than the Twitter files still, but it's quite a lot of mess. But it's kind of illustrates the point, like you can put all those years into your building up your personal brand and building your audience and all your content, and you can get the platform like in China, I don't know, in the pre-capitalism era, because you know, it's like it's like there was a farmer who asked like, so do my teeth belong to the collective as well? And he got the reply, yes. So it's like before Deng even you didn't even own your teeth in your head, you know. So it's like yeah, there was like communism before Deng's reform in China, and so this is like in a living memory. But we are actually experiencing something similar online. Definitely not that brutal, but you can get cancelled just like in virtual worlds, which is not the same as like being cancelled in China before. But Web3 can solve this because it's like decentralized social media. It's also kind of uncensorable or very difficult to change and censor and I don't know, deplatform. And also you own, very crucially, you own your own social graph, meaning like now, if let's say you want to move your account from, or you want to stop using Twitter and you want to go to somewhere else for some reason, I don't know, and you can't you can download your content, maybe your photos or your tweets or something, or your Facebook statuses, but you actually can't download your email addresses of your followers or your contacts, your social graph, you know. And that's like the most precious thing. And with Web3 you can actually do that. So that's like that's the difference. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the idea of communities and personal runway. In your article, you also mentioned that communities are more like cities than companies, and they can be more diversified and less focused. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah. So we discussed about startups, like how you actually maybe spend like 3 years or 5 years of really focused time. Let's say 15 hours a day you are working on improving some service or some product by a tiny bit. So let's say more people buy it, like a few percent more people buy it than they are buying the product of your competition or something like that. So like really optimizing around like one product, but you can be too focused as a startup, and you might actually, I mean, or generally like startups are like focused, but the community is like less focused, meaning like, let's say you have your church, where it's just an example. You have your church where you go, and there are various peoples from various walks of life, and you have, let's say, somebody is working for the county government, somebody is owning a restaurant, somebody is like, I don't know, a salesperson, somebody is a teacher, somebody has a startup. And so, but they are not all, let's say, working in the same startup, meaning if the startup goes south and gets gets bankrupt or something, then they are not all losing I don't know, their finances at the same time. So like community is more diversified, you know, it's like a portfolio. It's also the idea I have from Balaji, but so that's like, so community is more than, like a city, because also in the city, you know, not everybody is working in the same company. And so you have towns where let's say most people, or half or a third of the town, worked at some factory which was built, just the town was built basically around the factory, or the town was built around the mine, or around usually some factory, mine, or something like that. And then if it's like the single biggest employer, and he, let's say, gets bankrupt, then you can actually have a similar situation. You know, everybody loses and gets unemployed, or not, if not everybody, that's like 30% of people, and actually they might go through some like really depressing times, and the town might suffer. But it's still different than if everybody is just working for one company and startup. But also this, you get like this kind of situation. But if you're in a like some more diversified city, if you are living in a bigger city or a more diversified city, or even it could be a small town, but like which doesn't have this like one big factory where everybody's working, then you are like more resilient, or more anti-fragile, or something like that. So that was like the idea of maybe just like building on Balaji and contemplating or brainstorming about collective runway as a possible next kind of idea. Not just individual, like personal runway, but collective runway.
And how does this relate to the idea of financial independence being upstream of ideological independence?
Yeah. So I mean, okay, if you have like let's say your runway is like 8 months or 5 or 6 months or 12 months. Let's say you have a personal runway, meaning like, let's say you have certain expenses, and you have 12 times that amount of your monthly expenses, you know. And so if you have this like personal runway, like kind of in your okay, we discussed also we discussed crypto, but it's also maybe good to have it not all your funding in crypto, because if the prices collapse, then suddenly also your personal runway collapses. But even more importantly, I think is like if you are able to save constantly on a monthly basis. So let's say, I don't know, if you are, if you have just like using, let's say, I don't know which currency I should mention or what, but if you are earning certain amount, and you are able, let's say, to spend only 50% of that monthly, and you are saving like 50% of what you earn, then and putting it into BTC or Ethereum, then basically you are like more resilient, and you're building your runway. And even if the prices crash, then you can kind of like buy more. But the ability to save is like crucial, because, and also like having some kind of runway. So okay, if you have like 6 months, means like if you lose your employee and your employment, just like let's say because of I don't know, you get canceled or something, so at least you have like 6 months runway. But like even upstream of that runway, because you can somehow lose it, I don't know, somebody might hack your or I don't know, your account or something somehow. I don't know how, but it's possible. Yeah, right. I mean, somebody, or if you have it on a centralized exchange and something like SBF fiasco happens, the FTX fiasco. So yeah, it's also not your keys, not your coins. But even let's say could happen that you lose your password and you don't remember it somehow. Okay, so it's also good to be diversified, maybe having more applications and more various sources of different banks or different kind of like ways where you store your money. But like even more important than this is the ability to build your personal runway, because this is like nobody will take this away from you. If you you can lose like your money, but your skills you will have, like if you are able to save, so you might be able to build it up soon again or something like that. So this is like the financial independence, like being able to save, and then extending your runway, let's say for a couple of months, maybe not having only crypto, but also some other, I mean, just like your currency that you use for buying normal things that normal people buy, because then so you don't need to sell your crypto to buy bread or something. So that's also from the personal experience, like just like discussing, it's maybe good. Yeah, I mean, it's always
the
easy
key thing is to not put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, not putting all eggs into one basket, but just quoting Balaji, it's not a financial advice, but definitely Bitcoin and Ethereum is okay. And then maybe having also like your, let's say you can have something like USD coin. You could have your national currency or some other currency that you need for like some normal day-to-day operations. Yeah.
And this can apply also, but maybe to also skills, in terms of skill, where you diversify your skills as a personal runway, because maybe you might be maybe good at this certain skill, for example, and then some crisis, like say pandemic comes in, and you are good at that only one thing, and now we cannot survive during these periods, tough periods, because you had not diversified your personal runway in terms of skills. So if you could learn different skills and know different ways of doing things, might also help in your personal runway in this crisis times.
Yeah. That's also what we discussed, I think, with Alexander Bard, that he has this concept of it's like a major subject and minor subject. Like, so you, let's say if you are at college or university or something, you are like, or even could be even like high school in some countries, but you can select like two kind of careers path, or you can have like one is that like it's like your major archetype or something, like let's say you are an accountant, but you are also a lawyer. I don't know, just like making it up, but you have like two kind of career paths, but you are a better accountant than a lawyer, but at least you have two kind of skills. Or but Balaji kind of talks about something similar, but like more specifically about learning computer science and statistics. It's something like learning math and physics in the last century. So it's kind of like skills that are quite not transferable, but like they're like general. So you can use, let's say, I don't know, if you are working for, it could be like almost any company like nowadays works with data, and so you can find jobs in various industries with this kind of skills. So it's kind of just like bringing it back to Balaji. This is like his kind of idea. But yeah, if you have like two, you could, for example, be a farmer and a pharmacist. I don't know, making it up, but like if, let's say, you have to close your pharmacy because of COVID, which is actually, it's a bad example because pharmacies were not closed. So they had the exception. But then you can,
let's say,
maybe
a bartender or somebody who's selling alcohol.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's say you are a bartender and you are a farmer. So at least you have two kind of sources of income or sources of some revenue or something. You can grow your own food. That's also good, but you also have some skills in two different areas. It's also good. It could be more areas, but yeah, at least two. It's great.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you about the concept of absorbing barriers or trapdoors that Balaji mentions in his idea of personal runway. Can you explain what that means and how it relates to personal runway?
Okay, so like I mentioned there, this idea maze concept where you could have some kind of like dead ends or trapdoors, but it's like just a metaphor of a maze and that we discussed as in our the first article and the first video or one of the first, and absorbing barrier is something that Taleb discusses a lot, and it kind of means that. That you should only bet with your house money, something like this saying, meaning like you absorbing barrier means like once you lost, then you kind of can't recover. Let's say once you get bankrupt, you can't, your company is bankrupt or something like that. Or once you, so you shouldn't like risk too much, like let's say Taleb has this kind of example of Gelman kind of example, actually, that he calls it ergodicity, but it's basically the saying goes or something that's different. There is quite a difference between 100 people going to a casino for one day and one person going to casino for 100 days. They're not the same. And this is kind of like example, like if you are just like one person, so maybe your point, you are not diversified, or you are not a team of people, you're just like one person and you are doing some risky thing over and over, like, and casino is like kind of, the probabilities there are that you will lose more money than you will make. That at certain point, I don't know, a 6 or 60, you will hit the absorbing barrier, meaning that you will lose all your money and then you don't have any more money, and probably you also like borrowed some money or something and nobody else will borrow you, so you're kind of finished, on a day 60 or something if you go to casino like for 100 days in a row. So as this is just like kind of an example that you should with Balaji and with idea maze, he says like you should have the ability to kind of think about many steps ahead, or like to think about like how you will get through the idea maze before your competition, or where are all these trapdoors of like what are the lessons, the history lessons from your competition, how they where did they make mistakes in your industry, and so this kind of thing. So like learning from the history of mistakes, and getting the lessons learned, not to repeat them.
So if I get it right, is absorbing barrier or trapdoor is something that can prevent you from achieving your goals. and can be
Yeah, it's like once you hit it, it's like you are out of game. You know, like absorbing barrier means like it absorbs you and it's you are out of the game. You're kind of like it's like a game over. Yeah,
Okay.
and so you should avoid like game over, meaning like I don't know.
Having more enough resources to get you through the
Yeah, or maybe not touch. I mean, but it's difficult because it's like also like it's challenging for me, you know, like at least I'm maybe not financially conservative enough or something, but like maybe not getting into like bad debt or like not getting into high interest debt or not touching your personal runway. Let's say if you have like 6 months kind of minimum runway, so like you don't touch that money and it should be kind of maybe in some kind of like it could be probably cash, you know, and then you invest only money that are like more than this like 6 months runway. So imagine like you would have, I don't know, 6 months of runway into some kind of like highly liquid asset. It could be like your own currency, or it could be like, I don't know, USDC or and euros and your currency or something, but it's like let's say cash. That's maybe more Taleb kind of thing. And then once you have this, then all the other, now you are more free to save, let's say in Bitcoin and in ETH or something, but you like don't have all everything in crypto, and but you have this like safe cushion, or let's say 6 months personal runway. Ideal, that's like the ideal case, 6 to 12 months, that it's like something that you don't touch, you know, like for it's just some regular expenses and yeah, and that would be like kind of like a caution against this like game over kind of scenario. But it's yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just like uh yeah, I mean the absorbing barrier in this, I mean it's difficult because sometimes you have like they want to go into some morbid examples where it's like from different kind of contexts, but in a financial context, it would be like you would, for example, the game over here or the absorbing barrier would be like for some reason you would need to sell your house, which is maybe not good, like, or sell your apartment, or like for some people, you know, like if you can't meet your obligations, let's say you are out of job for a half year and you don't have this kind of financial cushion, and let's say you don't have family and friends to borrow with, let's say because there is some big recession, financial crisis, and everybody is down on their luck, similar to you. So, and then you have to sell your house, but everybody is doing the same, so the prices are really depressed, and you will get, let's say, only half of what you pay for it, and you end up with like big mortgage and with no house still, or something like that, you know. That's like a bad situation. But it's good to think about this because, I mean, it might be like depressing or something, but it can happen, you know. These things happen, like they don't happen that often, but this is like building a personal runway is meant to prevent these kind of scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great advice, and I think our viewers have a better understanding of the concept of personal runway and how to maybe achieve it. Jakub, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show again.
Yeah, thank you, Duke. It's my pleasure. It was great. Thanks a lot for great questions.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed listening to Mtambo's Desk podcast, don't forget to subscribe, give this episode a thumbs up, and be sure to come back next week for another episode. Until then, this is Jakub Mtambo, and don't forget to do good always.